I bought my mom a house and paid all the bills. At a family gathering, she said I only bring headaches. When everyone sided with her, I cut them off. I could still hear my mom's words echoing in my head, long after she said them. You never give us anything but headaches. The dining room went awkwardly silent. Everyone was looking everywhere else but at me. My uncle was stirring his coffee like it was the most fascinating thing ever, my aunt was fidgeting in her chair, and my cousins were suddenly super into their phones. Not a single one of them spoke up for me, and that stung more than I wanted to admit. I had bought this house for my mom. I paid for everything: electricity, water, groceries, even the internet my younger cousins used nonstop for streaming. I made sure she didn't have to worry about money, so she wouldn't have to choose between heating and food. And yet, there she was, throwing me under the bus in front of everyone, as if I was some nobody. I kept my hands clenched under the table, trying to keep my cool. No way was I letting them see me crack. That's not fair, Mom, I finally said, trying to stay calm. I pay for everything: the house, the bills, the food. You never let us forget it, she snapped back, cutting me off. You act like you're doing us a favor, but a real daughter wouldn't keep score. That hit me hard. I swallowed and looked around the room. My brother Mark just sat back with his arms crossed, looking all unreadable. His wife was avoiding eye contact, my cousins stayed glued to their phones. No one had my back. I took a deep breath. Okay, I said. My mom frowned. Okay, what? She asked. I stood up, pushed my chair back, and said, if my help's such a burden, then I won't burden you anymore. The mood in the room got tense. My mom seemed like she expected me to argue, maybe beg for some scrap of appreciation. But I was done with that. I'm done paying for this house, done covering your bills, done funding this family while being treated like an outsider, I announced. My uncle coughed awkwardly, my aunt's eyes went wide, and Mark finally leaned forward. Hold on, he started, but I shook my head. No, you all let her say that to me and act like I'm nothing but a headache. So fine, let's see how you handle things without me. I grabbed my purse and walked out, holding my head high. But as soon as I got outside, my hands were shaking and my heart was racing. I did it. I set a boundary for the first time in years. But instead of feeling relief, I just felt empty. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I knew what was coming next. My mom would twist my words, the family would rally around her, and soon enough, I'd be the villain in their story. But this time, I was done being dragged back in. My phone buzzed. Mom, come back inside. You're overreacting. Then another, Mark, what are you doing? You can't just walk out like that. I turned my phone off and drove away. The silence from my family over the next few days was eerie, like the calm before a storm. No calls, no texts, nothing. Then on the third day, the messages flooded in. Mom, the electricity bill is due. Are you serious? Mark, Mom is crying. Do you really want to do this to her? Aunt Lisa, honey, families fight but cutting us off isn't the answer. Let's talk. I ignored them all, and right on cue, the guilt-tripping turned to anger. Mom, I can't believe you would do this to us after everything. Mark, you're so selfish. You think money makes you better than us. Selfish. That word again. It's what they called me whenever I didn't bend over backward for them. I let out a humorless laugh, throwing my phone onto my bed. Then came the knock at my door, and I knew who it was before I even opened it. Mark stood there on my porch, arms crossed, looking irritated. You've made your point, he said. Now stop being dramatic and fix this. I leaned against the door frame, arms folded. Fix what? I asked. You know what, he snapped. Mom's losing her mind, the bills are piling up, and you just what, walk away? I tilted my head. Why is that my problem? His jaw tightened. Because you're the one who always takes care of it. And that's the problem, isn't it? Maybe it's time someone else steps up for a change, I said calmly. Mark let out a dry laugh. Like who, Mom? She doesn't work. Me? I have my own expenses. I raised an eyebrow. And I don't? You make more than all of us, he shot back. It's not the same. There it was, the real reason they felt entitled to my money. Just because I make more doesn't mean I owe you anything, I said. I bought that house for Mom. I covered every bill, every grocery run, every emergency. And what do I get for it? I give nothing but headaches. Mark exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. She didn't mean that, she was upset. I shook my head. No, she meant it. And the worst part? No one defended me. Not even you. He looked away, saying nothing. For the first time, I saw it, the flicker of guilt in his eyes. "Look, you just don't get it," he finally said under his breath. "Mom's freaking out. She has no idea how to deal with stuff without you." I rolled my eyes. Well, maybe she should have thought about that before she totally embarrassed me in front of the entire family. I turned and walked back inside. "I'm done, Mark. Figure it out," I said and shut the door behind me. The next week was a whirlwind. Mom called every single relative she could think of, spinning the story to make her look like the victim. "She left us, she's punishing me just because I asked for some respect," she'd say. "She's selfish, greedy, only cares about money." Some relatives immediately jumped to her side, sending me messages about how family is everything and warning me that I'd regret this sooner or later. But others started to see through the cracks. Aunt Lisa called me, "Sweetheart, I had no idea you were footing the bill for everything. That's not fair to you." Then cousin Rachel was like, "Wait a second, you bought the house and she still treats you like that?" Mom didn't expect people to start poking holes in her story, and when they did, her perfect little victim act started to crumble. By the end of the month, she ended up calling me herself. Not to apologize, but to beg. "Please, just cover the bills for one more month, we're really struggling." I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and gave her the same answer I'd given Mark: "Figure it out." For the first time ever, I felt free. Days turned into weeks. I thought at some point Mom might come around, maybe apologize, or at the very least acknowledge everything I had done for her over the years. But nope. Instead, she doubled down on her nonsense. I started hearing through the family grapevine that I had abandoned my own mom, forced her into financial ruin, that I was arrogant enough to think money could replace love and family. My personal favorite was how she raised a selfish, ungrateful daughter who abandoned the woman who gave her life. It was honestly laughable. I had done everything for her, bought her a house, paid her bills, made sure she never worried about a thing, and the second I stopped, suddenly I'm the villain. But the thing about lies, they fall apart when the truth comes out, and the truth was about to hit her harder than she ever saw coming. The illusion began to crack. Aunt Lisa, one of Mom's biggest cheerleaders, called me late one night, "Sweetheart, I visited your mom today." And she didn't seem to be struggling to me. I frowned. "What do you mean?" Aunt Lisa continued, "She just got a brand new dining set and was flaunting a fancy new gold bracelet your brother bought her." My stomach twisted. Mom had told everyone she couldn't afford food and that the electricity was about to be shut off. Aunt Lisa sighed, "Well, if that's true, she sure isn't acting like it." It wasn't just her. Other family members started noticing stuff too: how Mark was still going on weekend trips, how Mom was playing the victim one moment and then out at fancy brunches with friends the next. Then came the real bombshell when my cousin Rachel called me. "Hey, do you know how much your mom is charging Mark for rent?" My jaw nearly hit the floor. "What?" Rachel continued, "I heard from his wife that he's only giving her $100 a month." I almost dropped my phone. $100? I had been covering everything for the house, shelling out thousands each month, and Mark was giving her a measly $100? I'd spent my entire life being the family's personal ATM, taking on their burdens, sacrificing my own comfort. And now, the second I bow out, they're not suffering, they're just acting like they are because they think I'll come crawling back. Well, I was done. That Sunday, I went back to the house for the first time in weeks. The moment I walked in, Mom's face twisted into a look I knew all too well, displeasure mixed with triumph. She thought I was back to apologize. Mark was leaning against the kitchen counter with his arms crossed, looking smug. I almost turned around and left. Instead, I took a slow breath, set my purse down, and said, calm but firm, "I want to make something clear. I am never paying for anything in this house again." Mom scoffed, "Oh please, we all know you'll come crawling back. You need us." Mark smirked, "Yeah, you're not going to let Mom suffer, we all know that." I tilted my head, giving him a long, measured look. "How much rent are you paying, Mark?" The smirk slid off his face. "What?" I stared him down. "You heard me." He looked at Mom, then back at me. "That's none of your business." "Oh, but it is," I said, stepping closer. "See, I've been hearing some interesting things lately, like how you're giving Mom a whole $100 a month." Mom stiffened. "Who told you that?" "Does it matter?" I asked, folding my arms. "You've been telling the whole family you're suffering, on the verge of financial ruin, that I abandoned you. Meanwhile Mark's basically giving you pocket change while you're out buying gold bracelets." Mark's face was turning red. That's, I cut him off. "Fair? Reasonable? Because if that's the case, my money should have been more than enough to last you for years." Mom's mouth opened, then closed. Silence. I let it stretch for a long moment before speaking again. "I'm not coming back, Mom," I said quietly. "Not to this, not to being used, not to being disrespected. After everything I've done for this family, I was your daughter, not your retirement plan. If you can't see it, well, that's not my issue anymore." For the first time, I spotted something in her look, a mix of shock, anger, and fear, because she realized I wasn't bluffing, and she had no backup plan. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. Finally, Mark snapped out of his silence and said, "You're just going to leave us like this?" I turned back, looked him in the eyes, and said, "You left me a long time ago." And with that, I walked out, leaving them to handle their own problems, and this time, I didn't look back. My phone used to be bombarded with family messages, money requests, guilt trips, and complaints about how I never did enough. But after that night, it was like I'd vanished from their lives. No desperate texts from my mom or angry rants from Mark. And for the first time, I felt free. I thought I'd feel guilty or wake up at night wondering if I messed up. Instead, each morning felt lighter, like I'd stepped out of a cage I didn't even know I was in. I started hanging out with friends without worrying about leftover money after paying my mom's bills. I bought myself new clothes without hearing her voice in my head, telling me I was being selfish. I even booked a trip, something I never let myself do because all my spare cash went to keeping my family comfy. Despite my silence, I knew they were struggling. My cousin Rachel filled me in, though I never asked her to. "Mark's losing it," she said. "Your mom told him he has to cover the whole rent now, and he's furious." I just smirked and said, "Oh, you mean, like, a regular adult?" "Exactly," she said. "He's trying to guilt trip the rest of the family, but no one's buying it." As for my mom, she was trying to save face, but it was evident. She stopped going out as much and was telling everyone I abandoned her. Even Aunt Lisa was starting to question her story. People were beginning to see how good she had it with me and how she blew it. That should have made me feel vindicated, but it didn't, because deep down, I knew my mom would never admit she was wrong. She'd rather struggle and lose everything than admit she pushed away the one person who did everything for her. And honestly, that wasn't my problem anymore. 3 months passed before I finally heard from her again. It was late, and I had just gotten home from a night out with friends, something I had been doing more often lately. My phone buzzed. "Mom." I stared at the screen, my heart beating a little faster. I could ignore it, and I should ignore it, but against my better judgment, I answered. "Hello?" Silence on the other end for a long moment, then a heavy sigh. "You really meant it, didn't you?" I swallowed. "Yes, Mom, I did." Another silence, then a bitter laugh. "I didn't think you had it in you." "Well, I did." "So, that's it? You just pretend we don't exist?" I sighed and rubbed my temple. "I don't pretend anything, Mom. You made it clear how you saw me. I was just the one paying the bills, and when I stopped, you threw me away." "I didn't." "You did." Silence, then finally she spoke. "I'm struggling." I closed my eyes. "I know. You could fix this. Just help out a little, just for a few months until we figure things out." "No." Her voice turned hard. "You're really going to let your own mother suffer?" And there it was, the guilt, the same weapon she used my entire life. But this time, it didn't work. "Mom," I said quietly, "I already gave you everything I could, and it was never enough. It was never going to be enough. If I gave you money now, what would change? In 6 months, you'd be right back where you are now, asking for more. It's different this time." "No, it's not," I said, cutting her off. "And deep down, you know that." Silence. "You never planned for a future without me paying for everything," I continued. "And now you're realizing that was a mistake. But it's not my mistake to fix." Her breath hitched slightly, and for a second, I thought she was going to cry. But when she spoke again, her voice was cold. "Fine. If you want to be heartless, then don't expect to be welcomed back when you finally come to your senses." I let out a slow breath. "I won't." And then, for the first time in my life, I hung up on her. After the call, I stared at my phone for a long time. I expected to feel guilty or that old familiar ache in my chest that kept me tied to my family for so long. But all I felt was peace because this time, I hadn't let her manipulate me. This time, I had chosen me, and maybe, just maybe, that was the greatest victory of all. Weeks went by, then months. I kept waiting for the guilt to creep in, for the crushing loneliness my mom promised I'd feel. But it never came. Instead, I felt something I hadn't in years, relief. For the first time in my life, I wasn't waking up with a heavy heart. Man, I used to constantly feel this tight ball of stress in my chest, just waiting to see what new money issue my family would throw at me. I mean, I was literally checking my bank account every day, trying to figure out how much I could spare before they came knocking for more cash. But then, something changed. I set myself free. I wasn't just scraping by anymore, I was actually living life. I finally got the courage to start traveling, something I never thought I could afford or have time for before. I kicked things off with a trip to Italy, where I chilled at a cute little cafe in Rome, soaking up the sun. I even managed a weekend getaway to the mountains and tackled hiking trails I'd never dreamed I'd get to explore. And back at home, I transformed my apartment into a space that truly felt like mine, rather than a life spent catering to others. I started hanging out with friends more, laughing so hard my stomach hurt, and didn't feel guilty about treating myself. The absolute best part? I didn't have to justify my choices to anyone. No one was keeping tabs on my every move, waiting to judge me for not doing enough for them. I was done being my family's personal ATM, and it felt like the best decision ever. One evening, while chilling on my balcony with a glass of wine, my phone buzzed. I glanced over and saw it was Mark. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won, and I picked up. "Hey," he said, sounding way more subdued than usual. "Hey," I replied. There was a long pause, and then he said, "I screwed up." I blinked in surprise. "Come again?" I asked. He sighed heavily and continued, admitting he should have stood up for me at that awful family dinner when Mom humiliated me. He explained that he always thought I'd be there, no matter how much crap they threw my way. But when I left, he had to step up and saw just how much I'd been doing all along. He apologized, and for once, it felt genuine. "What changed?" I asked, still gripping my wine glass. Mark let out a dry laugh and said, "Mom." Turns out, now that he was handling things, she was treating him just like she used to treat me. Nothing was ever good enough. "Yeah, I know the feeling," I sighed. There was a moment of silence, and then Mark cleared his throat. "I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I just needed to say it. I was a crappy brother, and I see that now." I closed my eyes, letting his words sink in. I wasn't sure if I could forgive him yet, but for the first time in ages, he wasn't demanding anything from me, just offering an apology, and maybe that was enough for now. A few weeks later, I got another call, this time from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something told me to pick up. It was Mom, of course, instantly on the attack. "You think you're better than us now?" she snapped. "Hello to you too, Mom," I sighed. She launched into how I'd embarrassed the family by walking away and how everyone knew. "What exactly did I do?" I asked calmly. She insisted I'd left her to suffer. "You mean like how I worked my butt off for years keeping you comfortable?" I shot back. "I raised you," she argued. "And I repaid you 1,000 times over," I said, "more than any kid should have too." "You think you don't need me," she finally said, her voice quieter. "I know I don't," I corrected. More silence. Then, true to form, she laughed it off, saying, "You'll be back. When you realize family's all you have, don't expect me to be waiting." I just smiled. "I won't," I replied, and hung up for the last time. A year later, I was lounging on a beach, watching waves roll in, enjoying my new life in a new city. Mom tried reaching out a few more times with her usual manipulation, but I didn't bite. Mark and I were talking again, slowly patching things up. While I wasn't sure we'd ever be as close as before, I appreciated him owning up and making an effort. And me? I was finally, genuinely happy. No more being the family's cash machine, no more being the scapegoat. I was living for me, and I wasn't looking back. Taking a deep breath, I let the salty air fill my lungs. I was free. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. And hit the notification bell to stay updated with more crazy real-life stories happening around you.